A little bit of an update here on the ATV. I got my ball joints in and the front hub is back in place. Just to give you a bit of a warning here, I found that I got the whole front end lifted in the air. It's supported by, right here, engine stands. And so I put everything all together. I went to move the steering wheel and it was tight. Like I could barely turn this thing. I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. Well, it turns out it's because of the angle right here, right? The way the angle is. So I put the tires on and dropped it down the ground and no problem steering it. So if that happens to you, don't panic. Just put the wheels on and you'll see it's fine. It steers, no problem. It's no problem at all. So the ball joints I got on here, I got new ones, and I did not get them from the eBay seller, the one that sold me the faulty ball joints. I got these ones from a company called Fortnine. So I bought them in Canada, and so I got two of them, and they went in, no problem. Tighten up, no problem. The 25 foot-pounds torque, and no issues. Now the other ones that I purchased prior to these ones, they were defective. Two things. One, they stripped on the stud, so shoddy workmanship. Two, I think they were a little too small, because they went in easy. When I had them frozen in the freezer for a while, they went in. I just slid them right in. Pretty easy. So, and these ones, the ones from Fortnine, which the ones they sent me are from Quad Boss. Even sitting in a freezer for a couple of days, I had to pound those in. They were in there tight. They went in tight. So on my previous, one of my videos here, I show that I actually state that you don't really need to take off the strut assembly to put your ball joint. Just freeze it and they'll slip right in. Well, that's not the case. No way. I had to take the whole front end out and put it on my vise, and I had to pound them in, and they go in tight. So obviously the ones that I did get on eBay, and I won't name the company yet because I'm still looking at getting my money back from them. If they give me my money back, then we'll leave it at that. If they don't give me my money back, then I've got no problems telling the world not to buy anything from these guys. So anyway, right now that's it. I'm just going to continue working on it a little bit. The rest of the stuff I'm doing is putting on the, I put the brakes on, the brake caliper, and the pads. Got new pads in there. It's pretty straightforward. If you've finished your ball joints, you should have no problems doing your own brakes. I'm not going to bother filming that, but I'll show some other stuff here a little bit later. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Okay, I'm doing a complete fluid change on the 2003 Polaris Sportsman 500 HO. Very simple. Take you to the side here where the oil tank is. Here is the oil tank. It's a plastic one, and what you'll do first is obviously put a catch pan underneath and undo this bolt right here and drain it out, and then afterwards, here's your oil filter. You can take that out. It just unscrews. Hopefully the person before you didn't put it on tight, or you didn't put it on too tight. I mean, you're supposed to tighten them up by hand, and that's about it, but some people just go crazy with these things. I've had some that were so tight that I had to basically punch a hole through it so I can put a piece of pipe. Yeah, I'm still working on the ATV. I finally got my last parts here. I needed the donuts for the exhaust. What I mean about that is these ones right here. These are the old ones, and they weren't sealing up properly anymore. It was pretty loud. Exhaust leaking around the donuts. There's two of them. I got two, and I just ordered a whole bunch of new hardware. All the hardware that connects it to the frame. These, and anyway. Why not, right? Get it all done right. Got done changing all the oils, engine oil, front diff, transmission, rear diff. On this model, 2003 in the Sportsman transmission, and the rear diff is all one unit, takes same oil. Engine oil separate, of course, and then you've got your front diff, which is, let's see if I can point it out to you, right here. So, a lot of arguments online. I wouldn't say arguments, a lot of discussion on what type of oil to use, whatnot. So for me, engine oil, this is what I used. Mobile 1, 40 weight, full synthetic. And then in the transmission rear end combo, I used a 7590 API GL5 full synthetic, and the brand I use is Klondike. It's a company in Vancouver, British Columbia, which is where I live, and they're local, so I figure I'll give them a try. And for the front diff, which can take a lot of abuse, I went with a 80-90 weight API GL5 gear lube, and again from Klondike. It's good for extreme pressure. Actually, in my manual, it does state that I can use 80-90. So, and I drained the coolant out of it, and this is what I'm using for coolant. Just using Prestone 50/50 premix, and nothing special. I was going to go with Evans waterless coolant, but now for now I'm just going to run the Prestone. Just want to get this back on the trail and see if there's any other issues with it before I spend big money here on coolant. Because the Evans is like double or triple the price. And, you know, I'm not going to be beating on this. Really, we just trail drive, that's all. I don't plan on going in the mud up to my handlebars and water and all that stuff and beat the crap out of it. That's just not my style. So I think I'll be fine with that type of coolant. So, right now, what's next? I'm going to put the exhaust on. And once the exhaust is on, I'm going to start it just to get the oil primed. That's something that has to be done because these are dry sump. So apparently when you change the oil, just drain the oil out of it, then you're okay. But if you also take out the oil line from the back of your oil container, which is, I'll show you from here, which is this one. You take this line out, which there's a screen in that one. To clean it, then it loses its prime, so you have to prime it. So apparently what you do is you find the vent line, which is this one right here, and a few inches away from it, you pinch it. So we'll just take a pair of ice grips. You start the engine, let it run for 10-15 seconds, turn it off, unpinch it, and if you hear a rush of air, that means it's primed. So apparently you do it from 2 inches from the beginning right here where the hose clamps on, and 3 inches away from there, there's actually a slit in the line itself. So apparently that's where you'll hear the air escape. So that'll be next. Once I've got the correct amount of oil in there, then I'll move on to the coolant. This is the expansion tank right here. I want to make sure that there's plenty of fluid in there. So now let me show you here how to change the engine oil. It's fairly simple. Here's the oil tank. Right here. Here's your stick here to check your level, how much oil you got in. And here's your drain plug. Now these are notorious for leaking. People put them on too tight and they start leaking. Mine was leaking when I bought it. So what I've done is I put a little bit of Teflon tape around it, and also on the edge of the bolt I put on some RTV gasket maker and screwed it on. I let it sit overnight with no oil, and then put oil in there, and it's not leaking. So what I'm going to do from now on to change the oil, I've got one of those little pumps there to pump out oil out of diffs and so on. So I'm going to use that to change the oil in this. I'm just going to put it in here, pump the oil out. So that way I don't have any more issues with this bolt right here. So, and here's your oil filter right here. So you'll get about, I don't know, about 1.5 liters out of this, I guess. And then your oil filter. But you're still going to have about 0.5 liter left in the crankcase. So to change the oil, to get it completely out, there's a bolt on for the crankcase. There's a bolt for the crankcase. I'm not too sure if you'll be able to see this or not. Let me see if I can get a light on it. It's right here. Not too sure if you guys can see it. Let me get you from up top here. Bolts right here. So I'll be able to see here my finger moving right there, and it's just below the brake pedal. Mine is extremely tight. I can't get it off. It's starting to strip the bolt, so I'm not going to bother draining that out. What I'm going to do is from now on is I'm going to dump the oil from the tank, change the filter, and before I put oil in there, run it for about 10 seconds or so, and the pump will pump it right in back into the tank, what's in the crankcase, and then I'll just take that out, and that should be the remainder of the oil. Just run it for 10 seconds, 10-15 seconds, turn it off, and then pump out the rest of the oil, and that should be all of it, and then top it up. That's what I'm going to do. So it's an option. Many people have done this before the same way, just because that bolt's really hard to get to, and for me it's starting to strip when I got a 14 on it, and I don't want to have issues with it later on, so I'm just going to leave it where it is. Okay, for the front diff, if you move your rad hose a little bit right here, you'll be able to see that right there, that bolt. That's for filling it. And right underneath it, underneath the skid plate, you'll see there's a spot, there's a bolt there. You undo that one, and then that will dump out all the oil out. Doesn't hold that much, but this is where you fill it. Manuals, the manual contradicts itself a little bit for me anyway. The owner's manual tells me to do it one way, and then the maintenance manual tells me to do another way. So what I did is I filled it until the level was just below the threads for the plug. So it's a bit more than the amount they say. I don't remember how many ounces, but it'll be fine. Now the next one is the transmission and rear end. It's all one unit. So here's the stick right here to check the levels, and also to top it up. And right underneath it you'll see also a drain hole. I'm not going to bother showing it to you, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Just undo it, dumps it, and you're done. And then fill it up from here until you've reached the level. That's what I did. The manual tells you also an amount in ounces, but I just went with the dipstick until it reached the correct amount. And that's about it. That's all there is to do with the oils. Pretty simple. So I guess I'm gonna jump over to the exhaust here and put the muffler on and go from there.